Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual class of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic and because of that we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean we are going to stop learning. So we are going to do many lessons which are very interesting from your textbook through the virtual class here. So let us do a lesson in English today.
Here we start with a lesson in Standard 8th children for a scholarship and the subject is English. But today we will not be doing a new lesson in the sense that we will be continuing with the lesson that we were doing last time. So which was it? Do you remember? We were doing a lesson called lesson number 4.3 which was about degrees of comparison. And in the previous video that we saw, we learnt about the meaning of the degrees of comparison. We saw which the 3 degrees of comparison are, and also we learnt about certain rules for degrees of comparison, and we looked at certain, you can say, regular degrees of comparison, regular adjectives, and the irregular adjectives or adverbs also at certain times. Now today we will continue with this video, children. We will go to part 2 of the video today. Now, when we do a scholarship lesson, we divide the lesson into 2 parts. That is, the first part is we try and understand the concept. That is, we look at a lot of meanings, we look at a lot of definitions, we look at a lot of examples also. And when we come to part 2 of the video, then what we do? We do a lot of questions. We look at the various questions that can come up in this particular topic. So we are going to part 2 today, but at the same time, we will not move on and do the examples directly without revising what we did last time. So let us start by revising a little bit about what we have done last time, and then we will move on and we will do part 2 of the video today. So in revision, let us see what the meaning of degrees of comparison is. I'm not going to explain it in detail. If you want to learn more about it, if you want to revise it properly, then you can always go back and watch the video which I have already uploaded onto the YouTube channel of the MCGM English Medium. Okay, so here, come on, let's take a look at the meaning of degrees of comparison now. In grammar, the degrees of comparison relate to adjectives and adverbs. Alright, in essence, it is used to describe, modify or quantify adjectives and adverbs, and there are 3 varying degrees of comparison we saw. Degrees of comparison, when do we use them? We use them when we want to compare one person or one thing with another. So all these things we learned yesterday. Let us take a look at which are the 3 degrees of comparison in English now. So we have the positive degree, the comparative degree, and the superlative degree. Let us take a quick look at what is the meaning of positive degree, what is the meaning of comparative degree, and what is the meaning of superlative degree as well when we are revising. So what is positive degree? When we speak about only one person or one thing, we make use of the positive degree. Alright, for example, see, these are the examples. For adjectives, when we use adjectives in the positive degree, we say slow, we say beautiful, we say happy. When we use adverbs in the positive degree, we say slowly, beautifully, happily. Alright, and this positive degree, it offers no comparison. That is, it just tells us about the existence of a quality. There is no kind of comparison which is done between one person with another person or one thing with another thing. So this is about the positive degree. Let's quickly revise what is the meaning of comparative degree. Before that, let's take a look at some examples for positive degree. So here are all the examples for positive degree. This house is big. Now here, like I told you, we are talking only about one person, one thing. That is, we are talking only about one noun. So in the first example, we are talking only about the house. And we are saying it's big. We are not comparing it to anything else. Look at the next example. He's a tall student. This flower is beautiful. He is an intelligent boy. So in each sentence mentioned above, we talk only about one noun. Okay, coming to the comparative degree now. This compares 2 things to show which has the lesser or greater degree of the quality. So here we are comparing what? 2 things. Alright. For example, adjectives could be, the adjectives which are compared or used here could be slower, more beautiful, happier. Adverbs could be more slowly, more beautifully, more happily. Okay, so this is about the comparative degree. So what do? We compare two persons or two things with each other. Let us look at some example sentences for comparative degree, and also remember that we use both the adjective in the positive form and the adjective in the comparative form to compare sometimes. For example, we say this house is bigger than that one. So this is comparative degree. To compare, we can also use the positive form of big, that is, we can say big. How? The sentence structure will change. We will say this house is not as big as that one. So that is positive degree. Okay. Now the term bigger is a comparative version of the term big. Both these sentences convey the same meaning though. Alright. Now we come to the superlative degree. So see, the comparison here takes place between more than two things. Alright. And we focus on the least or the greatest of the quality. For example, look at these examples. The adjectives can be used as slowest, most beautiful, happiest. Adverbs could be more slowly, more beautiful, most beautifully, most happily, etc. Again, some more examples. I can't find my most comfortable jeans. The runt of the litter is the smallest. Jupiter is the biggest planet. She is the smartest girl in our class. This is the most important, interesting book I have read. I'm the shortest person in my family. So all these are examples of what? Superlative degree of comparison. Now, we will move on and talk about a very, you can say, tricky concept here. That is, we will talk about regular adjectives and irregular adjectives. Okay, now what is a regular adjective? In a regular adjective, in the comparative form, it takes ER, and in the superlative form, the word takes EST. Okay, so you must have already learnt about a concept called as prefixes and suffixes. Okay, or suffix as some people say. So here in the comparative degree, the ER becomes the suffix, and in the superlative degree, the EST becomes the suffix. Now, if this is the case, then these are all regular adjectives. Regular. Okay, one kind of rule which is followed by many different words. For example, see here you have big, bigger, biggest. You have tall, taller, tallest. You have clean, cleaner, cleanest. You have cold, colder, coldest, and so on. Alright, now when we come to a degree of comparison where the adjectives are irregular. Now, irregular adjectives means what? They do not follow the rule of taking ER and EST in the suffix. Okay, so here bad doesn't become badder or baddest, but bad here becomes worse and worst. So see, it is irregular. If it was regular, then it should have become bad, badder, baddest. But that is not happening here, so it is irregular. See, badly, which is a adverb, becomes worse and worst again. Far, as far as distance is concerned, becomes farther and farthest. Now, far can also become further and furthest. Now, both these, far, farther, farthest, as well as far, further, furthest, are used for indicating distance. Okay, one is in the British kind of English and the other is in the American kind of English. Okay, that is the only difference. They indicate distance, that is the increase or decrease in the distance. Then you have good, better, best. So see, good is not becoming gooder and goodest. In the same way, we saw all the other examples also. And one important thing that I pointed out to you was that we always use than with an adjective or an adverb in the comparative form, whereas we use the word the with an adjective or an adverb in the superlative form. So this is what we did yesterday as far as meaning of adjectives and adverbs in the various degrees of comparison was. Now we move on to exactly the second part of the lesson, where we will talk about how you tackle the questions which come up as far as this particular topic is concerned. For that, first you have to see the pattern of the questions which will be asked. So we have 4 patterns here. Come on, let's check out the patterns now. So identify the 2 sets of correct comparisons. So there will be various comparisons which are given. Out of the 4 sets, 2 sets will be right. Okay, so you have to identify those 2 sets. Pattern 2 will ask you to fill in the blank with the correct option. In pattern 3, we have read the words given below and complete the sentence using the superlative degree. So you have to be very careful that the point here is not that your answer should have the same meaning as the question. Okay, your answer could have the same meaning as the question is, but still you could be wrong if you use the wrong degree. So here you have to rewrite in the superlative degree. Whereas in the 4th pattern, you have to rewrite the words in the comparative degree. Rewrite means you're not going to write, you're going to just select, okay, or you're going to complete. Alright, so these are the 4 patterns of questions which could be asked to you. Now we will actually go and try and solve at least 5 examples in each pattern. So here comes pattern 1. We have identify the 2 sets of correct comparisons. So here are the sets of comparison for you. We have how many? We have 4 sets. So see, honest, more honest, very honest. Second, lucky, luckier, luckiest. Third, good, more good, best. And the 4th one, little, less, least. So option number 1, 2, 3 and 4. Which 2 sets of options are correct? Remember, I have highlighted the 2 in red so that you just don't select one and move on. If you select one and move on, your answer will still be wrong. Alright, so which ones are the correct ones? It is the second one, lucky, luckier, luckiest, and the 4th one, little, less, least. Okay, so see, how will you write it correctly along with the suffixes that we discussed about? You will write luckier than, lucky will become luckier than, and the luckiest. Okay, so remember to always think in your mind. When you're thinking about a positive, comparative, superlative, always think that along with the comparative you will write than, along with the superlative you will write the. Okay, so this applies to the 4th example also. So you say little, less than, the least. I'm not going to write it everywhere for you, but we will at least make an effort to say it. Alright, so this was example 1 for you. Let's move on and do example 2 in the same pattern. So here are your sets of words. Old, elder, eldest. Merry, merrier, merriest. Little, lesser, least. New, newer, newest. So which 2 sets are correct? The first one, old, elder, eldest is the first correct answer, and the 4th one, new, newer, newest is correct. Okay, so when you say old, elder, eldest, when you use them in a sentence, how will you say? You will say old, you will say elder than, and you will say the eldest. Likewise for new, new, newer than, the newest. Alright, come on. So let's move to the next question or next example. We have simple, more simple, most simple. Foolish, foolisher, foolishest. Empty, emptier, emptiest. Sincere, more sincere, most sincere. So which two do you think are right? So the third one, empty, emptier than, the emptiest is the first set which is right. And I also want you to look at the spelling here. E-M-P-T-Y, the Y becomes I-E-R and then it becomes I-E-S-T. Now let us take a quick look at the previous page that we did. See, in this, the merry, merrier and merriest was wrong just because the Y was not dropped. Okay, so come on, let's move on and let's see this again. So which one is the correct one? The third one is the first correct answer, empty, emptier, emptiest. And then you have the fourth one, sincere, more sincere than, and the most sincere. Okay, moving on to the next example in this pattern. Bad, badder, baddest. Far, further, furthest. Far, farther, farthest. Pale, polar, polished. So which do you think is the right one? It is the second option, far, farther than, the furthest. Then you have far, farther than, the farthest. Okay, so these two, second, the third one and the second one, these are the right sets. Coming to the last example in this particular pattern, we have this particular set for you. Tough, tougher, toughest. Harmful, more harmful, most harmful. Finer, more fine, finest. Short, shorter, shortest. So which two are correct? The first one, tough, tougher, toughest is correct. And the second one, harmful, more harmful, most harmful is correct. When you look at the third one, there is some mistake there. And the fourth one, there is a mistake in the spelling. Okay, so how will you write tough, tougher, toughest? In a sentence, how will you use it? You will say tough, you will say tougher than, and you will say the toughest. Harmful, more harmful than, the most harmful. Okay, so this was pattern 1. Now we move on and we do pattern 2. Fill in the blank with the correct option. So you have Scrabble is the dash of all indoor games. Now, do you know of the game Scrabble? Have you played the game Scrabble? Scrabble is where you make words using these small coins. You have these square shaped coins or the round shaped coins on which a letter of the alphabet is printed. So you make words using those particular coins. So Scrabble is the dash of all indoor games. So Scrabble is an indoor game, they're telling you, but they're telling you something about the Scrabble. So let's see our options. Scrabble is the most interest of all indoor games. Scrabble is the interesting of all indoor games. Scrabble is the most interesting of all indoor games. Or Scrabble is the more interesting of all indoor games. So which one do you think is the right answer? Yes, it is option number 3. Scrabble is the most interesting of all indoor games. So see, the most interesting. Superlative degree. Alright, moving on to the next example. Example 7. This apple is dash than that apple. This apple is sweet than that apple, sweeter than that apple, sweetest than that apple, or more sweet than that apple. So come on, which one is it? Yes, it is the second one, sweeter than. This apple is sweeter than. So when it is than, we are comparing. So it is a comparative degree. Going to question number 8. That was the dash film I have ever seen. That was the best film I've ever seen, that was the better film I've ever seen, that was the good film I've ever seen, or that was the goodest film I've ever seen. So goodest, can you write goodest? Let's check. Answer here is the first one. You can't say goodest, you say the best. Okay, so the answer will be, the sentence will be, that was the best film I've ever seen. Okay, coming to the ninth question or the ninth sentence, where we fill in the blank and find out the correct option. As the crowd increased, the place started getting dash. So as the crowd increased, the place started getting more noisy. The place started getting noisiest. The place started getting most noisy, or the place started getting noisier. So for noisy, does it become more noisy or does it become noisier? Which is the correct one? The fourth one is the correct one. As the crowd increased, the place started getting noisier. So you see the Y has been dropped to take the IER. Alright, then we come to the last and final question in this particular pattern, which is this one. No other sea is as dash as the Dead Sea. So what is the Dead Sea? Dead Sea is very, very salty. Okay, and because of this high level of salt, there is no flora and fauna. There is nothing you can say which can survive in so much of salt. That is why it is called as a Dead Sea. So no other sea is as dash as. So is it as saltier as salty as salt as, or as saltiest as? So which will be the correct option when we are using the comparative form? Sometimes you can also use the adjective in the positive degree or the positive form. Okay, here is an example of that where we make use of the second option. So you say no other sea is as salty as the Dead Sea. Suppose you wanted to make use of the word saltier, then what would you say? Dead Sea is saltier than all other seas. Alright, so this was the second paper pattern for you, where we fill in the blank with the correct option. Coming to pattern 3. Read the words given below and complete the sentence using the superlative degree. Remember, the sentence should be in superlative degree. So let's see. These are the clue words given to you. You have to form a sentence, and that sentence should be in the superlative degree of comparison. So I scored much marks maths class. Now this should come in the superlative degree. That means I should be the person who has scored the maximum marks in maths. Superlative, isn't it? So let's see. These are the 4 option answers. I scored more marks in the class in maths. I scored the most marks in the class in maths. No one scored the marks in maths as I did. Everyone scored least marks than me in maths. So come on, which one is the correct one? Correct grammatically also and correct by using the correct degree also. It is the second one. I scored the most marks in the class in maths. Okay, moving on to the 12th question. My mother, my sister, best cooks. Now this is someone believes that my mother and my sister are the best cooks in the world. So they are equally good and they are better than all the others. So let's see how it will work out as a sentence. My mother is a good cook as my sister. My mother is a better cook than my sister. My mother is good a cook as my sister. My mother and sister are the best cooks ever. Yes. So which one will be the correct one? You have to use the superlative degree. It is the 4th one. My sister and mother are the best cooks ever. That is, there is no other cook in the world who's as good as my mother or my sister. Okay? So remember, we are using the superlative degree here. Coming to the 13th example sentence. Education, important, money. Superlative degree here. Okay, remember, you have to prove that education is most important. It doesn't matter whether you have money or not, but you should have education. So let's see these options. Education is most important over money. Education is more important than money. Money is more important than education. Education is not as important than money. Which one is the correct answer, children? Yes, it is the first one. It is the first one. Okay? So now let's go back and let's just see this. There was a glitch in the switch. Okay? So that is why it moved ahead. So we will just come back to our question now. So which was the answer for us? It was the first one. Education is most important over money. Now in the same pattern, let's go to the next question. Question 14. Wordsworth, popular writer. But here again we have to write the sentence the superlative degree, proving that Wordsworth his popularity was more than the popularity of any other writer. We are using the superlative degree. So let's see. Wordsworth is the most popular writer. Wordsworth lesser is popular than other writers. Is Wordsworth more popular than other writers? Wordsworth is most popular than writers. So I don't know what that last one means, but amongst the other three, which one do you think is the right one? Yes, it is the first one. Wordsworth is the most popular writer. Okay, coming to the fifth one. Mount Everest, high mountain. Superlative degree sentence. Mount Everest is the highest than any mountain in the world. Mount Everest is highest mountain in the world. Mount Everest higher than any mountain in the world. Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world. So which one is the right answer? It is the fourth one. The second one just missed. Mount Everest is highest mountain in the world. It missed out the that is why it is wrong. So the fourth one is the right answer. So this was our third pattern, children. Now we move on to the last pattern. Okay, and let's take a look at 5 questions or examples in this pattern as well. Let us read the question first. Read the words given below and complete the sentence using the comparative degree. So now all the answers should be in the comparative degree. Let's start. The palaces in Udaipur, grand. The palaces in Jaipur. So, you know, Udaipur and Jaipur are both cities in Rajasthan which are very famous for its grandeur. It's very famous for its old traditional places. So there are a number of palaces both in Udaipur as well as in Jaipur. Now in this you have to compare the palaces in Udaipur to the palaces in Jaipur. Okay? And we have to say that somewhere the palaces in Udaipur are better than the palaces in Jaipur in terms of grandeur. So let's see. The palaces in Udaipur are not as grand than the palaces in Jaipur. The palaces in Jaipur are grander than the palaces in Udaipur. The palaces in Udaipur are grander than the palaces in Jaipur. The palaces in Udaipur are lesser grander than the palaces in Jaipur. So what is it? It is the third one. The palaces in Udaipur are grander than the palaces in Jaipur. Okay, you're comparing. So the word than should be there. Then is the wrong word. Coming to the next example. That was bad design, all other designs. So we're comparing some designs here. That was the worst design among all other designs. So see, bad is the positive form. Okay? In comparison, it becomes worse. That was worse than any all other designs. That was the worst design among all the designs. Now here again, it is the superlative form. That was the bad design among all other designs. So which do you think is the right answer? It is option number 1. The third one is also right grammatically, but here we are looking for the comparative degree. We are not looking for the superlative degree. Worst is the superlative degree. That is why the first one is right. Coming to the 18th example. Bill Gates, rich man in the world. So what will you say? Will you say Bill Gates is the richest man in the world? Bill Gates is richer than any other man in the world. No other man is rich as Bill Gates. Bill Gates is as rich as any man in the world. What will you say? You will say Bill Gates is richer than any other man in the world. Coming to the 19th example. My house big than yours. So we are comparing two people's houses. So my house is bigger than yours. My house is biggest than yours. My house is bigger than yours. My house is bigger than yours. Okay, so come on, which one is the right answer? Now you become experts now in finding out and using the rules. Okay, so the fourth one is right because big, bigger, and then biggest. But we are using the comparative degree, so we'll write bigger, and I've also written than, so it is the right answer. Coming to the last example in this particular video, the earth, large, moon. So the earth is larger than the moon. The moon is larger than the earth. The earth is large to the moon. The earth is largest than the moon. Which one is the correct answer, children? We are comparing the earth and the moon, and we are saying that the earth is larger than the moon. So it is the first option which is the correct answer. Okay, children. So this was this rather long lesson based on the topic degrees of comparison. So that is why we divided it into two videos. Alright, the first one I have put it up earlier, and in this one we saw all the possible kind of patterns that could be asked in the various questions. Okay, so that was all in this topic, children. What will you do now? You watch the entire video and also try to complete the tasks which I have set up for you.
So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions and note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learned a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.